Ladies and gentlemen, New York just exploded. Governor Kathy Hochul stood before cameras this week, visibly cracking under pressure and snapped. After months of pretending that everything was fine, she finally admitted what we've been saying all along. There's no such thing as a free ride. The so-called free bus plan, the crown jewel of socialist mayor Zoran Mandami's campaign, just went up in flames. In a very tense press conference that left reporters stunned, Kathy Hochul flat out refused to fund Mandami's fantasy. No new taxes, no state bailout, no magic money tree. And in doing so, she just triggered a political earthquake inside her own party because the progressives that she tried to please are now declaring war on her. And you can pretty much feel it, guys, can't you? I mean, the Democrat civil war that we've been warning about, it's already here. The establishment versus the radicals, the donors versus the activists, and in the middle of it all, you got millions of New Yorkers realizing that they have been scammed by promises that were never real to begin with. Meanwhile, President Donald Trump's America First administration, fiscal sanity is back on the map, and blue states like New York are being forced to face reality. So buckle up, guys, because tonight we're diving deep into the meltdown that's tearing the Democratic Party apart. Kathy Hochul's free bus collapse isn't just a New York story. This is the first domino in a national reckoning. Hit the like button, subscribe. I want to get into this real quick. So let's rewind just for a moment. Just a few months ago, New York's new socialist mayor, Zoran Mandani, stood on stages across the city promising free buses for all. He called it a human right. Crowds cheered, cameras flashed, and the media labeled it the future of urban progress. The price tag? Roughly $700 million a year. And the payment plan? Simple. Tax the rich. This is the same tired slogan that's been killing jobs and chasing wealth out of blue states for years. Now, at first, people bought in, right? Like, who doesn't like free stuff, right? If it's free, give me two of them, right? But as President Trump's new America First economic reforms began taking effect, with federal dollars being tied to accountability, suddenly, state budgets couldn't hide behind Washington bailouts anymore. The numbers stopped adding up. And so now New Yorkers are starting to wake up. The buses aren't free. The bill is massive. And the man who sold them this dream can't even pay for it. I mean, it's not a revolution. This is a reckoning. Reality just came head on into fantasy. And for the left, that collision is political carnage. And then came the explosion. Governor Kathy Hochul, she came out the woodwork. This is the woman who once smiled right next to Mandani on campaign stages, stood before reporters, and finally snapped. Her voice cracked as she declared, "I cannot set forth a plan that takes money out of a system that relies on fares." Translation, no more free rides. Now, you could feel the room shift. Progressive journalists blinked in disbelief, her communication staff froze, and for months, she danced around the question. But under the new Trump administration's stricter economic climate, she had nowhere to hide, really. I mean, reporters pressed, Governor, what about your endorsement of Mandami? What about the voters who expected free transit? She deflected, of course, stumbled, and finally doubled down. No new taxes. That was it. This was the moment that Kathy Hochul shattered the illusion of her own party. The governor of New York just told the far left that their utopia is broke. And that single sentence right there, delivered live, raw, and unfiltered, it did what Republicans couldn't do. It triggered open revolt inside the Democratic Party. The crowd gasped. The Civil War began. For far too long, people have trusted the system to do the right thing. The banks, the Fed, the politicians. But 2026 isn't the year to trust. It's the year to take control. This is why I partnered with Noble Gold Investments. They help Americans turn uncertainty into security by owning physical gold and silver. These are real assets you can see, touch, and hold. No hidden fees, no pressure, just education and empowerment. And so when people realize how simple it is, they all say, that makes sense. And so this is why thousands of Americans right now are calling Noble Gold at 877-646-5347, or they're visiting RonYatesGold.com to download their free wealth protection kit. Because when it comes to your money, the best strategy isn't to wait, it's to act. And this is exactly what most people are doing right now. And so the moment that Kathy Hochul's press conference ended, the knives came out. Progressive activists, social influencers, leftist lawmakers across New York went nuclear. They called Hochul a traitor, a complete shill, even a Republican in disguise. Guys, within hours, hashtags like hashtag primary HOCHUL and hashtag tax the rich now trended across social media. AOC's orbit jumped in immediately. Her former aides, socialist think tanks, and the usual Twitter revolutionaries demanded blood. Some even floated the idea of AOC running against Kathy Hochul in 2026. Others threatened to fund challengers for every Democrat who refused to back the free bus promise. This is the establishment versus the radicals. This is a full-scale Democrat civil war. On the one side, Kathy Hochul's old guard machine, politicians clinging to corporate donors and union ties. But on the other side, you got Mondami's socialist army of activists and digital agitators fueled by ideology, not logic. And so while they eat each other alive, Trump's America First economy keeps roaring forward. Jobs are up, taxes down, inflation is cooling. And so while Democrats fight over who gets to redistribute imaginary money, Trump's team is busy rebuilding the real one. The left wanted revolution. They got one, just not the kind that they wanted. Now, here's the fatal flaw in Mondami's entire free bus dream. He never had the authority to make it real. As mayor, he can't raise state income taxes. He can't touch those levers without the governor's approval. But that didn't stop him from campaigning on a plan that required it. His proposal: hike taxes on millionaires and corporations. The very people who are already fleeing New York in record numbers. The math is laughable. You can't tax the rich if the rich don't stay. Duh. And so now Kathy Hochul's trapped. Her entire re-election campaign is built on no new taxes, but her socialist base is screaming for her to break that promise. So if she refuses, they'll primary her. If she agrees, then she'll lose moderates and business support. Either way, Kathy Hochul is finished, and Mondami already knows that. He's already setting her up as the fall guy, blaming her for killing his utopian bus plan. This is the oldest socialist move in the book. Promise the world, fail to deliver, then blame capitalism for the collapse. New Yorkers didn't just elect a mayor. They hired a magician who vanished $700 million before the first bus even rolled. Now, here's the million-dollar question, guys. Why did Kathy Hochul back him in the first place? Why did a seasoned, established Democrat governor hitch her wagon to a radical socialist with zero grasp of economics? Well, the answer is desperation. You see, in 2025, Hochul was already sliding in the polls. Her approval ratings were underwater statewide, especially outside of New York City. I mean, she thought aligning herself with Mondami's youthful, progressive energy would buy her peace with the left. You guys remember the images: handshakes, hugs, matching smiles at campaign rallies. They sold the illusion of unity. But of course, as the saying goes, she fed the alligator hoping it would eat her last. But instead, it came for her first. Because the moment that Mondami won, he turned his fire inward, demanding that she adopt his tax the rich platform, fund the free bus utopia, and kneel before the socialist movement that she helped legitimize. Well, now, Kathy Hochul's being eaten alive by the very crowd that she empowered. Her name has become a curse word among New York's far-left circles, and the irony is she thought that they would thank her. But instead, they're plotting her replacement. Kathy Hochul didn't just make a political mistake. She made the kind of deal that ends careers. Now, here's a secret. There are hundreds of Medicare plans out there, but only a handful actually fit your needs perfectly. This is why I partner with Chapter. They play the comparison game for you, matching you with the right Medicare coverage so that you win. Now, one viewer, she said, Chapter found me a plan with more benefits at half the cost. So let me ask you this. Do you want to play blind or let the experts who everyone's calling handle it? Now, most people, they're already dialing the phone number right there at the bottom of your screen, or they're visiting askchapter.org/Ron. That phone number again is 909-563-8279. Oh, and by the way, here's what one of our amazing viewers just said. Ron, I called Chapter and they are saving us $2,400 for 2026. Thank you. Blessings, Lenora, Texas. Guys, that is real savings from real people who made one simple call. And now the fallout is hitting everyday New Yorkers like a freight train. Business owners are furious. They're saying that they can't plan investments in a state that just keeps threatening to tax success. Landlords are panicking, developers are freezing projects, and the wealthy, the supposed piggy bank for Mondami's dream, they're already on flights to Florida and Texas, where President Trump's tax policies are fueling growth instead of punishing it. Meanwhile, the very people who believe that they would get something for free are realizing what free really costs. Bus drivers are confused, unions are silent, and commuters are asking, wait, weren't buses supposed to be free by now? The answer is no. There's no funding, there's no budget, there's no backup plan. Kathy Hochul's government's paralyzed, Mondami's office is pointing fingers left and right, and the taxpayers, they're stuck paying the mess. Under President Trump's America First agenda, responsible states are winning. Budget surpluses, investment inflows, new factories. But blue states like New York, they're bleeding people, they're bleeding jobs, and they're bleeding credibility. I mean, the progressive promise of free everything has officially become nothing for everyone, and voters are starting to feel betrayed, bamboozled, and straight up angry. Now, you would think that after getting scorched over the free bus disaster, Hochul would have learned her lesson, but no, she's not that smart. So within days of that meltdown, she floated a brand new idea. Universal childcare, a $15 billion statewide program phrased in gradually, she says. Well, you can pretty much almost hear the staffers in the background yelling, "Governor, stop talking." But here's the kicker. This is the same Hochul who told reporters New York can't afford to fund free buses. So now she's pitching an even more expensive free service while the state's drowning in debt and losing its tax base by the week. Her excuse? She says it'll start in geographically underserved areas. Translation? She's trying to buy back favor with the same progressive activists that she just pissed off, using promises that she can't even pay for. And so who is left footing the bill? The same middle-class taxpayers who already can't afford groceries, rent, or gas. Hochul's trying to spin her way out of a collapse, but every time, every new promise digs the hole a little bit deeper. Because in Trump's America, accountability is back. You can't play make-believe with money anymore, and Kathy Hochul just got caught trying to bluff a losing hand. And as if the financial mess wasn't enough, let's talk about law and order, shall we? So Mondami's second biggest campaign promise was stand up to Trump's deportation agenda. He bragged that under his leadership, New York City police would refuse to assist ICE agents. He called federal immigration enforcement terrorizing New Yorkers. But it's 2025. And Donald J. Trump is back in the Oval Office. Federal law enforcement isn't playing games anymore. The ICE raids are real. Deportation force is moving. And sanctuary cities like New York, they're officially in conflict with Washington. So where does this leave Kathy Hochul? Well, let's just say it leaves her cornered again. If she sides with Mondami, she risks losing critical federal funding for public safety. But of course, if she sides with President Trump's Department of Homeland Security, the far left wing of her party erupts. Meanwhile, Mondami's grandstanding is all talk because New York is already a sanctuary city by law. I mean, he hasn't changed anything. He's just recycling empty slogans for applause while real New Yorkers deal with the consequences of open borders and rising crime. The divide between local defiance and federal enforcement just became another battlefield in this Democrat civil war. So here's where things get predictable. The corporate media jumped in to clean up the mess. Within hours of Hochul's press conference, CNN, MSNBC, and the New York Times, they're already spinning. Hochul shows leadership under pressure. Free bus timeline misunderstood. Please, come on, guys. They're trying to make it sound like she's a victim of Republican misinformation instead of the architect of her own political disaster. Meanwhile, conservative and independent outlets, they did what the mainstream won't do. They actually ran the numbers. They showed that Mondami's free ride would gut the MTA's entire fare-based revenue system, jeopardize state credit ratings, and saddle the taxpayers with hundreds of millions in new costs. But the media can't tell that story because to admit the truth that socialism doesn't work, this would mean admitting that Trump was right all along. Again. So they pivot. They blame Hochul's temper, mock her tone, call it a communications problem, anything to avoid saying the words that every sane person can see. New York is broke because Democrats made it that way. The press didn't just cover for Hochul, they covered for the entire ideology that got her here. And so now, here we are. The free bus fantasy is dead. The progressive bubble has burst. And Kathy Hochul, once the darling of the New York left, is standing alone in the rubble. Meanwhile, President Trump's America First agenda is rewriting the national playbook. Federal dollars tied to performance, not politics. Tariff revenue funding real infrastructure, not fake free schemes. Accountability back at the center of American economics. New York's meltdown isn't an accident, it's a mirror. It shows what happens when ideology replaces math, when politicians buy votes with dreams instead of results. Hochul thought that she could ride the progressive wave, but instead, it drowned her. The moral here is simple. There are no free rides, not in life, not in politics, not on the bus, and not in the government. Somebody always pays the fare. Under Trump, America is back to earning its future, not begging for it. So remember this moment, guys, because this is more than a New York story. It is a warning. Like, subscribe, and share this message, and let's keep exposing the lies that built the left's illusion of free, shall we? Until next time, God bless and stay awake.